So we're talking about what was it? What was the genesis of this? We talked about like how different presidents we thought would like, I
If
guess,
Taylor had lived, would we have?
right. If Taylor had lived, or if Millard Fillmore had been in a different era, like how would he have done? And that got me to thinking, what would have happened if Mr. John Quincy Adams was in charge of, the world during the War of the Worlds invasion of I can't remember when the actual year was, but we're going to pretend that this happened in, we'll say the 1820s.
Okay. So 100 years before World of the Wars.
Yes.
War of the Worlds.
And War of the Worlds is it
20s?
should be public domain, so I should not be breaking any rules by
I was going to say that came out a long time.
I had to go with that one instead of the Independence Day, because that was what I was initially going to go
World
with.
of Wars is bad. I like Independence Day, but World of Wars is bad.
I am really excited about this. All right, so let's go ahead and kick this off. This is my movie poster here. The War of the Worlds and Adams administration. I'm going to try to narrate this. He does eventually like get a mustache, and I'm not sure why that happens. Just don't worry about it.
The needs no explanation.
No one would have believed in the early years of the American Republic that this nation was being watched, studied by intelligence, vast and unsympathetic.
Why is there so many? Why are so many lights on in the United States in the 1820s?
That's too many questions. That while Congress debated tariffs and canals, while clerks sharpened quills and diplomats drafted memoranda, the earth was already marked for assessment. Their landers fell without warnings. The battles were quick, one-sided. Panic followed, predictably so. But the president did not panic. No, he never lost faith in America's institutions. While crowds fled the cities, Adams convened committees. While generals demanded authority, Adams demanded reports. And while the world screamed for retaliation, Adams asked a quieter question. What precisely can be done? The invaders did not negotiate, not at first. Their envoys, if they could be called that, issued proclamations without context and demands without concessions. They spoke of efficiency, of inevitability, of mankind as an administrative inconvenience. Adams listened. He always listened. Behind closed doors, the machinery of state began to turn. Not the army. That would take decades to rebuild. Instead, appropriations, scientific commissions, university grants quietly expanded. Medical boards convened under obscure mandates that no one had paid attention to, at least until now. The president's enemies called it wasteful. Even his allies thought it naive at best, but luckily they were not in charge. Yes, Adams did dispatch diplomats, but not to plead. He did it to delay, to clarify, to request definitions, to dispute translations. Each meeting produced nothing, which was precisely the point. Weeks passed. The invaders grew impatient. They mistook procedure for compliance. They had never encountered a civilization that weaponized paperwork so effectively. Meanwhile, the research bore fruit. Not a cannon or a bomb or some other half-baked Hail Mary. Mr. Adams does not gamble with the human race. The invaders were brilliant engineers, but poor biologists. Their sealed systems, their controlled environments, their absolute certainty and technological supremacy had left the invaders vulnerable. A virus, common, unremarkable, devastating only to those who'd never evolved alongside it, was isolated, cultured, refined, released methodically over the course of hundreds of useless meetings ironing out the details of our surrender.
What a twist! What a twist!
The negotiations ended abruptly. The skies fell silent, their operators undone by the leader's arrogance, who did not see the need for HEPA filters when discussing surrender terms. In the aftermath, critics asked why the president had not acted sooner, why he had not rallied the troops, why had he trusted clerks and scientists instead of generals. Adams never answered. He returned to his desk, to his correspondence, the unglamorous work of preserving a civilization that nearly failed to recognize the value of its own institutions. And so when he lost re-election in 1828, he returned to Congress, though he was ultimately gagged from ever discussing these events publicly again.
Can I point out the psychopath move of having a placard that just says institutions on your desk? And now I'm going to buy one. What is this newspaper?
Yeah, it's when he lost his re-election.
Why is Adam? What is that? What uniform is Jackson wearing? Why does he have a badge?
I don't know, dude. All right. So what'd you think, man? War of the
It was
Worlds?
amazing, but also was Adams like was this like the War of 1812 and Adams is reading a newspaper about somebody defeating him in the future?
No, this is the re-election he lost in 1828. Jackson,
Okay.
the hero of New Orleans, actually was the one who defeated him, right? Because he never explained himself to his critics, and so because of that, he lost re-election.
Yeah, that was unreal. What the fuck? That was awesome.